That is the scene in Dallas this morning. An active crime scene, buildings there on lockdown after peaceful protests turned deadly overnight. At least 5 officers killed in an ambush, 6 others, and a mom who was there with her kids injured.
We know at least 2 snipers were involved in the attack. 3 suspects are in custody, and this morning Dallas mourning the loss of those officers' lives. President Obama addressing the shooting hours ago, calling it, quote, a vicious and despicable attack. The nation now trying to come together, make sense of it all. ABC's Philip Minna is on the scene for us again there in Dallas. Philip?
Robin, good morning. That peaceful protest was nearly over when the first shots rang out. In the end, 11 officers were shot. 5 of them were killed, police say, by 2 snipers. Now, this morning, 3 people are in custody. One of the alleged snipers who is in a hours-long gun battle with police on the 2nd floor of a local college here. He was shot and killed, but not before he threatened to plant bombs. He said that bombs were planted throughout the downtown area. That obviously caused concern for everyone around here. Chaos for many hours here as police combed this area just to make sure that there were no explosives. And as of this morning, so far police say that no explosives have been found, but this city right now, George, is just grieving.
More on this now from the mayor of Dallas, Mike Rawlings. Mr. Mayor, thank you for joining us this morning. I know your entire city is grieving. We are grieving with you this morning. We also know that your city is still on edge. The entire city now still on alert?
It is. We've shut down a part of downtown. It's still an active crime scene. We're looking at all aspects of that in those buildings. But we think it's under control, but we haven't said it's over at this point.
So you think it's under control, and can you confirm that no explosives have been found?
We have swept it, and no explosives have been found. That was threatened by one of the shooters, and fortunately he was bluffing. We didn't have that. Our explosives took him down. He was cornered in a garage and wouldn't give up, and we sent in explosives for that.
So that shooter is down, is dead. What more can you tell us about the 3 suspects in custody?
Well, I can tell you that they're being pretty tight-lipped at this point, and we are looking at them as suspects and really just objects that we're talking to. We don't know anything more at this point, and we're going to do a thorough investigation to make sure we get to the bottom of it.
So you say they're being pretty tight-lipped right now. No indication about their motivations?
Not at this point. It's actively being worked, and hopefully every hour we'll gain information, and we'll be talking about it at our press conference.
Are you convinced that the 3 people in custody were actually involved in the shooting, and do you think there were others who you don't have in custody?
Yeah, I'm not convinced of anything yet. We have put together a drag net, if you will, got those individuals, and now we're starting to convince ourselves of where the truth lies.
So many more questions to be answered there about the suspects. How about the victims in the hospital? Of course, we are all praying for the families of those who were killed in the line of duty. How about the injured? Anything more on their condition?
You know, I was at hospitals last night talking to families, talking to those that were injured, talking to the police officers that were around. We had 2 civilians that were hurt. Fortunately, none of those died. We have 3 women that were impacted and shot during this terrible tragedy. All the victims that were deceased are men. So both of our hospitals did a great job. Not only with the patients and with the victims, but also with helping the families out.
So when you're saying the female victims, were those police officers or those were civilian bystanders?
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, were you saying the female victims were those police officers or civilian bystanders, the injured?
We had 2 female officers and 1 female bystander.
And we know you have difficult times ahead there in the city of Dallas. What more do you want the country to know about your city?
You know, I think we had a morality play take place last night, and we understand that police officers putting their lives on the line every day and every night is not a hyperbole, it's a real thing. And last night, 5 of those officers lost their lives to protect citizens that were protesting and helping exercise their First Amendment rights.
As the president said, they were just doing their jobs. Mr. Mayor, thank you for joining us this morning.
Good work. Thank you.
Now let's get more on the police from Robin.
All right, George. Joining us now is former New York Police Commissioner and ABC News consultant Ray Kelly and former FBI Special Agent Brad Garrett. Former police commissioner, former police officer. Just overall, your thoughts when you woke up to this news this morning?
It's jolting. It still gets to you, even though I'm no longer in the department. As you know, policing is a brotherhood, is a sisterhood throughout the country. So what affects one affects all. And we've never seen anything this scope and size since 9/11.
9/11. What are you hearing here in the city about the NYPD?
Well, the department will raise its alert level, and I think you'll see the alert level raised throughout the country. There's a lot of anxiety. Police officers want to come home at the end of their tour, and you know they have families, so they're concerned about their own safety. But they'll do their job, just as we saw in Dallas. We saw those officers running towards the fire. As the police chief, Chief Brown, said that he saw and heard of so many officers risking their lives to save other officers.
And many of the protesters said that too about the police officers that were there, that they were there to protect them. Brad, what stands out to you about this seemingly coordinated attack?
I think the real key, Robin, was the protest have anything to do with the shooting? Or did the shooters use that as an excuse where there would be a large gathering of officers? So that's obviously one question. The other real key is apparently one shooter is down based on what the mayor is telling us, but do they really have everybody in custody that was involved? And primarily, do they have all the shooters in custody? Because the last thing you want are tentacles of this to be still out in the community that could potentially harm other officers.
You bring up a lot of good points, Brad, because we don't know for certain the motive of these shooters, and it doesn't seem, by what the mayor has been saying and others, that they have been cooperative, those that are in custody right now. But it does seem to be that a lot of planning went into this, because where the snipers were placed, it's like they knew the route of the protesters and the police officers.
Right. I think, yes, as far as they knew the city, they knew they need to be elevated to be effective at what they were about to do. So yes, I think that part was coordinated, you know, but this protest obviously just went together in the last several hours. So the idea that that was planned in advance, perhaps shooting police officers at some location may have been planned in advance. We'll have to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, we will have to see how that unfolds. And Ray, the officers, authorities there doing the best job that they can under some really trying circumstances right now. If you're the police chief, what's going on right now? What are you doing?
Well, you want to make certain that this individual who is dead is identified as quickly as possible. You want to get a warrant. You want to go to his house. You want to get his phone. You want to know who his acquaintances are. You want to do everything you can to make certain that this is not part of a larger scheme or a plot.